Were we not?
No, we weren't, because Restream, I love this platform.
I'm on Restream right now, and it's all check marks.
Yeah,
so.
well, now it is, because you have to put in a description in Facebook, or otherwise it won't stream. So we were live on Rumble this whole time. We weren't live on anything else.
Great.
We've been streaming to Rumble live, so our entire episode is on there. But now you'll cut into the middle of this episode.
That might be why there's 0 people watching.
Yeah,
right now.
that is exactly what it was.
Wow. Okay.
And thank you to Brian for pointing out. He was like, "No show tonight." So
I didn't see his text.
He
just texted you directly.
He texted us. Group.
Okay. I got my do not disturb on, so that would be my.
But yeah, that might have been why. So Rumble has been seeing us this whole time. You can catch the whole episode over there. Obviously, now you can join in with us on Facebook and YouTube. I'll make sure the entire episode gets posted tomorrow. But yeah, that's a little bit.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, it is a little bit unnerving, and a recent change that Restream made that I'm not particularly happy with, especially as a paying customer. I think it's a little bit bogus, and I think I'm going to write somebody over there.
Maybe,
based on how much I pay to do it.
If you're just now joining us, which if you are, thank you for waiting around on pins and needles for us to come on.
Well, they've been missing a good conversation.
Yeah, you've been missing some good conversations. So definitely go back and watch it to see the review of here and to see our discussion on the headlines we've covered so far.
Yeah, I'll get the entire episode posted right after we wrap up here tonight. I'll make sure Rumble will be fine. You can go there and search Red Room Productions, and the entire episodes. I mean, we're still streaming live, but you can also go to YouTube and Facebook, and I'll have the whole episode posted there tomorrow. So the entire thing is up. But yeah, that's a little bit frustrating, because apparently Facebook changed their rules to where you have to now have a description, and Restream, the way it works is when you select everything to go live,
you have to meet the criteria for all of those
for
services.
Every single service to go live, instead of everything but that
one service,
which I think is an oversight on Restream's platform. I think that's a little bit bogus, and I think they need to fix that. So I'll be writing them to tell them that's unacceptable. And a recent change that is, it's not worth the money if that's the case.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. Continuing on, we've kind of talked a lot about. Most people didn't hear it.
Yeah.
We did. You will hear it if you go back and watch the full episode posted tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we're gonna move on to our third headline, which happens to be the big headline of the night. Funny enough that we just now got onto this. Yeah. So right when we're live on all the platforms, the box office fizzling. Now, in the description below, we will have it linked to a different article than one that I had sent. And Sean, I'll let you open up with this, because originally I had a Hollywood Reporter artitle linked in there.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't have to change it. I'm okay that you did.
No, the reason I did change it was because
I don't even want to support this article.
Well, and here's the thing. That's why I changed it, because you're right. It's like you can go look it up, honestly, if you want to, but there was nothing of detail in the article specifically, other than the headline that drew me to it. That is the reason why I picked that article. But I was able to find other articles and other sources.
Yeah, with the same information.
That supported what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just link to that. So it'll be a Rotten Tomatoes article that just clearly goes over the box office results from this past weekend, and literally how heading into the holiday season, not a lot to talk about.
No.
Everything is fizzling. But if you wanted to bring up the Hollywood Reporter.
I mean, it was stunning to me that the Hollywood Reporter and whoever wrote the article, I don't even know. I don't care. I'm not going to say their name if I did know them, because I thought it was just horrible. But it's just a shame that you can't, you can write an article and you can give it a headline that draws people in to see what they're actually looking for, which was the changes in these in the box office results, and how Hollywood is just kind of hemorrhaging money and then making bad movies that are bombing. That's what I wanted to read. And so when I started reading the article, before I think I was the first one that was reading it, the whole first paragraph was just this huge dig at Republicans and Trump supporters in particular,
Well, just baseless. It was talking about the election last week, but it was baseless in terms of it was pure just accusation.
Oh yeah,
and it was just it was a weird way to shoehorn a political agenda talking point.
Yeah.
Into something about the box office number. Now, look,
so
as the kings of people who do that on the show sometimes, we don't really need to, it was clearly it was one of those attempts at which this person was clearly unhappy with the results of last Tuesday's election.
Yes.
And just had a way to get it off their chest in this article. Yeah. So it made no sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it was basically blaming the fact that there weren't very many good movies coming out this time of the year because movie studios were anticipating rioting
and civil
unrest and attacks and all these different things to the level of January 6th, which we all know was worse than Pearl Harbor and 9/11 put together. and obviously I'm being sarcastic as hell, but that's the movie studios did not want to put any movies out after the election because they knew it would be a very trying time for them to release a film, and they probably wouldn't make any money.
What I think is preposterous and ironic about that underlying point that they made was the fact that just before they go into that tirade, they specifically mentioned how the ad buys were higher, so they didn't want to promote. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, now that's a logical conclusion. That actually makes sense. I'm like, of course, because we had a major presidential election going on, ad buys were higher. So studios who are already bleeding money, and that's why we're really talking about the box office fizzling, is we're going to go through, I mean, these results as of late, and it just spells doom and gloom for not only what's on the horizon, but the fact that we are going in dry coming into the Christmas season in terms of what's available in any major releases. You've got a few tentpole releases here and there, but ultimately it really does come down to the fact that I think you just have a weak release schedule mixed with why advertise something that you already are anticipating to not do so well at the box office, and you're going to pay double the rate for it just to promote it, and it's not going to have the returns you like. That makes way more sense financially and economically speaking than any kind of real political threat that the Hollywood Reporter was espousing. So I really do think it comes down to financial sense on the part of the studios who are already having shown proof of hemorrhaging money this year with tons of flops across the board.
Oh yeah,
from major studios. And clearly that is showcasing by the fact that, again, the link we'll have in the description is from a Rotten Tomatoes article. Not much better in terms of sources. But at least they broke down the fact that it's really just been weak releases.
Yeah.
You had Venom finish out on on top again, number 1, and it still oddly cleared only, I think, around, what was it? I think it was like 16 million?
16.2.
16 million. In its third weekend. The
yeah.
fact that was number 1 with 16 million, and granted, the only 2 new releases you really had major were Heretic, which stars Hugh Grant.
Yeah, I've actually heard that's an interesting movie. Yeah.
It got great reviews.
Yeah.
It got a lot of good reviews, and it's gotten, I guess, pretty good word of mouth. They're, I guess, expecting it to do better maybe in subsequent weeks. Time will tell.
Yeah.
But really, it released at number 3. It didn't even crack 2 or 1. Came in at number 3. Now, granted, it's a smaller budget film, but you think with someone like Hugh Grant in there, and with the same, I forget who directed it. It's from the same creators of not Hereditary. I'm trying to think. It's a duo partnership.
It's Scott Beck and Brian Woods. From A24.
Okay, maybe it is. I think they did release it. No, Hereditary. I think that might be right.
Yeah, that's it.
But ultimately,
same studio behind Ari Aster's Hereditary.
Okay, Ari Aster did Hereditary. Yeah. Okay, duh. Keith would be kicking me right now if he was here. He'd be like, "What are you talking?" He just watched it and he was just like, "I can't believe I skipped that film." It's a freaking disturbing film.
Mm-hmm.
But You have them bringing out Heretic with Hugh Grant, and then you had the best Christmas pageant ever, a I would say definitely probably more your word of mouth But it's gotten good reviews from critics and audiences and seems to be pretty faithful to the book that it's based on / the play that it's based on. And I think that it busted in number 2, and it could only go up with I think good word of mouth, especially with there being slim pickings on the market today.
Yeah.
But really, it's like looking across the landscape, the major films you have left the rest of this year are Gladiator 2, which apparently has not been receiving great reception. You've had Sonic 3 coming out in December, and it's going head-to-head with Mufasa. And Disney, from what we've seen, other than Deadpool Wolverine, is not doing great. So, I mean, with those being your major films left throughout the rest of the year, I think it is safe to say that it's pretty bleak. I mean, I know we were having hard times. That's why.
Yeah, it's been a struggle to find something to watch.
To review each week.
Conclave, that's out, which we saw the trailer for that and thought, okay, that looked interesting.
Apparently it's done better than expected based on, how many theaters it released in.
$6.5 million opening.
And I think it was only like a $10 or $12 million film. It wasn't expensive. And it's got Ralph Fiennes in it, so I think you've got some heavy hitter there in terms of trying to pull in that star. And it's done well with the audience it was going for, which is that older skew. But definitely not a heavy hitter by any means. I mean, again, when you've got Venom, which came out to pretty lukewarm reviews. I mean, we didn't review it favorably, but clearly it's got an 80-something%, or audience score.
Yeah.
It's doing well where it needs to.
It mentions here how it was a 50% drop from first weekend to the second weekend.
And that means it only made like $4 million the first weekend.
It made $2.43 million its second weekend. So it only made
wow,
4 or 5 the first weekend.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That's really bad. Yeah, that's really, really terrible. I mean, and again, with someone like Tom Hanks, Robert Zemeckis, that's just you don't expect that. You expect a little bit more. Coming out of that,
the name alone should draw enough people to see that movie. But
so, I mean, what does this bode well, or does this bode well at all for I mean, what's to come in the new year?
I don't know. It's just amazing. Terrifier 3 has made more money so far than We Live in Time, Here, Conclave, Heretic, and Venom: The Last Dance is not even the highest. Actually, Wild Robot is the highest.
I believe that
in the last few months. But yeah, Terrifier 3 beat out at least 5 of the movies that we mentioned, and that's a B movie.
Yeah. Well, and I don't
just
even know.
Gore fest Halloween
and that's
movie.
The weird thing. I think from its successes of 1 and 2, and now this one, I honestly think you can move it out of the cult favorite status.
That's true.
Into,
yeah,
it truly is.
It's made a name for itself.
Right. It's got an audience,
just like Channing Tatum. Gambit, he made a name for himself.
Well, and oddly, those others you mentioned too, Wild Robot.
Yeah,
I would think, to me, if you consider the last few successes we've had, it would be probably Wild Robot, Venom, and Smile 2.
Yeah, we didn't review the Wild Robot.
No,
did we? Yeah, we didn't. It wasn't bad.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it was
me and
great.
The kids liked it. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
So I mean, but even those, it's like their biggest hits.
Yeah,
clearly, Deadpool Wolverine is this year's winner.
Oh yeah,
as far as how well it did and its sustained power, but regardless of that, you've had a few other really lukewarm entries that have served to do the box office well, but not good enough to, I think, get Hollywood out of hot water.
No, I mean the Red One, that movie's coming out. It's got a $200+ million budget.
That's insane. And they're expecting that to open. I think honestly, they wanted to open at least $60 million. That's their high hopes, and I'm like, 60. That's this coming week.
Yeah,
that's this weekend. We're reviewing
that's an Amazon movie. But I mean, it's Amazon MGM. It'll be in theaters, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it is.
But it's an Amazon MGM film.
Well, we know how great they did with Rings of Pooh.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon knows where it's at.
It's like they tackled Token, now they're going to tackle Santa Claus. With The Rock and Chris Evans.
I mean, and The Rock is another one that has proven to not be the golden boy anymore. The golden egg, laying the golden egg every time he's in a movie. I mean, he's had enough flops that, again, I wouldn't say they were bad movies. I mean, Jungle Cruise was okay.
Yeah.
Didn't sell tickets.
Yeah.
Jumanji 2.
Jungle Cruise wasn't in theaters. That was a
No,
Disney
it was
Plus.
in theaters.
Was it?
It was in theaters.
I thought that was just a Disney Plus movie.
No, it came out in theaters. And in fact, I think that's why they pushed it to theaters, was with him and Emily Blunt thinking that pairing was going to get butts and seats, and it didn't. It flopped. And it wasn't a bad movie.
No, it wasn't. It was good.
The one that came out on Netflix with The Rock in it, and Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds in that one?
Oh yeah, that was a couple years ago.
Red Notice.
Yeah. Not a bad movie.
But again,
yeah.
I mean, you could. I mean,
that was straight to Netflix.
Yeah, you could argue maybe. Oh, I mean, that's the problem with Netflix. They spend $1 bazillion, and we never know if it's worth the payout.
Yeah.
They always say it is, but of course it always is to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm very. It used to be that it was like, oh, if you attached his name to it for at least a good 2-3 year period.
Yeah.
And he's still considered, I think, obviously one of the highest paid actors to get in a movie. But I just don't think he necessarily I mean, Keith and I were joking about this recently with him getting back involved in wrestling.
With wrestling, yeah.
Granted, yes, he is now on the board of TKO.
TKO, yeah.
But
that's what I thought.
He didn't have to go and try to get back in the ring or try to get back. And granted, there's still a fan base there that want him, and the arc they chose for him was a good angle. And granted, thankfully, he gave into it and went that angle, that route. It's more of a heel angle than a baby face. And it played out really well. But him even being involved in that is like, oh, I guess the Hollywood thing ain't working out so hot that you got to come back and dip your toe back into, where your bread was buttered originally.
Yeah.
And look, he'll always have a fan base there. But I just think it goes to show you that, I mean, Batista's another one. Talking about going from wrestling to, the Hollywood game.
Yep.
And he's not been one of those A-listers that have either reached, he definitely hasn't reached the echelon of The Rock.
No.
Let alone.
And now that the
Guardians is
kind of done, yeah.
Right. What else is he? He just had that one recently that came out. Oh, what was it? It just dropped like a month or two ago. He was out promoting it.
Really?
And because it even had Drew McIntyre.
I'll say the only other one that I know of was the M. Night one. Knock at the Cabin Door.
Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was that one flopped as well.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm looking him up. Dave Batista, his most recent, The Killer's Game.
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, that just dropped like 2 months ago.
Okay.
And it flopped. And it was supposed to be kind of like an action comedy.
Yeah.
And it just didn't do much at all. Flopped at the box office. So I'm like, there are some things that I want to cheer on as being original that I think are trying to add some flavor. But for the most part, I hate to say it, I think you're going to have to start seeing a lot more doubling down on some of these new ventures and taking risks, but not in the $200-300 million range.
Yes.
You need to see the risk and originality from the Blumhouse or the A24s that if you do take a loss, maybe you take 9 losses, but that 10th one is a huge success and it covers all the 9 losses. But they're all made for $10, $15, $20 million. And then when you get one that makes $200-300 million, it covers all the bad ones. But you start to sneak in that originality again instead of just relying on your $200-300 million tentpole films.
Yeah.
Because we know that when you put those out there like this Red One, it's a huge gamble. And if they flop now, it just means it's like, oh, no, I guess, well, we just can't put out originals anymore. You start to blame.
It's destined to flop, dude. It's not a family movie. You're
It's
making
true.
a Christmas movie. It's PG-13. You can tell from some of the stuff in the trailer this is not going to be a kid-friendly movie, even though they're packaging it that way with CGI
And
snowmen
Santa,
on the beach
yeah.
and Santa Claus and all that. I just don't see it being...
No, I agree.
No.
I agree. I think it skews way more adult than are going to be willing to watch it. Well, I mean, in fact, what do you think? Have you seen the trailer for that Jack Black one?
Oh, yeah.
With
the Satan movie?
Yeah. What in the hell?
I'm the one who shared it. I think I shared it with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was
the hell?
insane. Yeah.
I'm just like, are you serious?
Yeah. Let's make Satan your friend.
Right.
That's exactly what the movie does.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Satan's just this big, fat, cuddly guy that'll give you whatever you want.
He gets no love and attention because no letters come to him.
No letters come to Satan.
But when one little stupid kid can't
misspells the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just...
So it's called Dear Satan is what the name of the movie, I think, is. Instead of Dear
they're trying
Santa.
to pitch it as like, what, a kid-friendly movie?
Oh, yeah.
A Christmas film?
Yeah.
What
no doubt.
in the world?
Mm.
I'm just... But they wonder why the box office is fizzling. They wonder why people don't want to show up. And again, this kind of goes back to our previous conversation, which again will be made. You can watch the entire thing on Rumble because we were streaming Rumble this whole time.
Yeah.
But you will have the full episode available on Facebook and YouTube and all of our other platforms available tomorrow. If you missed the Mission Impossible talk, but we were talking about celebrities and the fact that their appeal is waning. Because we see too much of them. They're so disconnected from everyday life. And I think that's the problem with Hollywood in general is they're not they're imitating the essence of what it is like to be a normie, to be one of us. And they used to actually be so good at getting down on that level and knowing and being able to appropriately adapt what real life struggles were for normal people. And you still get it from time to time. I'm still amazed that, yes, as hoity-toity and elitist as the Academy is, there's probably one or two films that get nominated every year that I can look at and say, oh, wow, that perfectly sums up a real human experience.
Yeah.
That perfectly connects to what I could... I mean, most people don't go see them because they're always the obscure ones that are low release anyway. But you still have... some of those that do make it through. But it used to be that, again, think of a When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, yeah.
It's a rom-com, but it's appealing on so many different levels. We just reviewed that last Christmas when we did our I think it was like rom-coms.
Romantic. Yeah.
Christmas films. And yet, you just don't have movies that relate on that level to such a degree that they become cult favorites or that they penetrate the culture in such a way that it's like, oh, this is something I can return to because it appeals to me and so many others on a level. It's like Hollywood is completely disconnected from that. Yep. They're just so disassociated from it.
Yeah, they don't make films that are what we would call like timeless.
No.
Anymore. Like even when we were doing our multimedia segment with the influential films. And we all mentioned several of those kind of films that just draw you, that are good for every generation. And I think the last one of mine was The Breakfast Club. And that's one of those movies. It's not a Christmas movie, obviously, but it's one of those movies that I think that spoke to everybody in the 80s and the 90s 100%. And the 2000s. And it still speaks to people today.
Yeah.
So I just don't think Hollywood is... are they capable of making films like that? Like you said, we see some... kind of penetrate through the crap and make their way into people's hearts and minds, but I just don't see many films like that coming out of Hollywood anymore.
No, I would agree. I don't think you do. And I don't think they're... Again, I think we're sending the message with our pocketbook.
Yeah, I think that's, again, like going back to the article that we didn't want to link or whatever, it's like you're making excuses. It's one thing to take this election and all this stuff and use that as an excuse, but before that, dude, COVID was over in 22.
Yep.
I mean, to me, it was over
21.
Shortly after it started. But it's like they've been blaming box office numbers on COVID still today.
Well, it's
like what else are you going to blame it on? Strikes, COVID, Donald Trump now? I mean, what do you got?
It is their linchpin for pre-pandemic is what they go back to. And I'm like, okay, if you want to use that as a signifier of like, okay, this is when the shift changed dramatically, but what was the cause of it pre-pandemic? I mean, if trends were already heading in that direction and the pandemic just exacerbated it, then you really do have to, like you said, you have to have a real logical way of it. And here's the thing, you can have those articles come out and they'll have their own opinions and they'll shoehorn that crap in there because it gives them brownie points with either their reader base or even their boss and what they want to spew. But the executives in these major studios, they have to have a real come to Jesus meeting because the writing is on the wall. They only have so much money they can fund these flops for so long, whether it's hundreds of millions of dollar flops or even the smaller flops, because people just aren't going back to the theater. There's nothing to entice them. That one, you have anything worthwhile to go to the theater and see. And so they consider anything that draws people in as like this gravy train of, oh my gosh, we hit it, we got a silver bullet, and either we're going to replicate this a million times and beat you with a dead horse, when it really could only be it actually just, you had the secret ingredient that one time and there was just some secret sauce there, and it just happened to land at the right moment at the right time and it just hit. Or you're going to have that opposite reaction of, oh, how do we sustain this? Which is the more economical, rational approach that most people in business would take.
Yeah.
And even though, yes, you could argue the studios and multimedia in general, it's a collective of pushing the boundaries forward and being innovative, but also, again, you can't lose that humanity. You have to have a balance of how do we still appeal and show you something that you have never seen before, you didn't think about it in this way, but also how do we relate to you on such a level that we don't think we're speaking or preaching at you and above you. And that's where Hollywood has just lost. And I mean, the only way in which they've succeeded to any extent in being somewhat neutral is in family films. Whether it's Sonic 3 coming out that is going to be a sure thing, whether it's The Wild Robot, any Pixar movie, and even Pixar's waned because of Disney shoehorning
I was going to say, their last
agenda.
several family films have not been what I would consider a family film.
Exactly. And that's the thing. They've lost the battle when you already have your parents questioning, oh, I have to pre-screen this before I take my kids to it.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem for Disney. That's a reputation that you now have to recover from.
Yep.
And they do not want to be in that role whatsoever. But hey, you got yourself there. And I think Hollywood writ large is in that boat. Mm-hmm. They're in the boat of you've got to you've dug your hole, now you got to dig yourself out. And it's going to take a long time to build back that reputation. And, kind of going back to what we were, my last point is when we're talking about Glenn Powell and Tom Cruise wanting to pass the torch, I think you may start to see at least Hollywood embracing certain celebrities that are willing to be not a blank slate, but an approachable, charismatic, much in the same way Tom Cruise was. Look, we know Tom Cruise from, yes, his jumping on the couch at Oprah or his Scientology rants, but you know what? Other than him defending himself for his freedom to believe what he believes, he doesn't espouse it out in public in terms of trying to beat you over the head with it and make everybody a believer. He literally goes out there to promote the movie he's in and talk about the movie he's doing.
Doesn't endorse
no
political candidates.
Exactly. He is what you would consider to be a classic old school movie star. And really what we would say is the last of in his existence. But could we see Hollywood trying to now replicate that with a new up-and-coming generation? With someone like a Glenn Powell or an Austin Butler, who may try to pinpoint, let's move away from the Rachel Ziglers.
Yeah.
Let's get away from these people who think this is going to be a chance to take their stardom and promote their social cause.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of that mentality and not look for those stars, but let's actually promote the people who actually want to do this as their job and create a positivity that now exudes from them being in this particular role to, oh, I'll go see anything they're in just because I like them as a person. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Hollywood will cultivate that attitude and start pushing it, or at least picking people who already know how to inherently portray that. But maybe that is the direction they take, because they've got to do some healing, because right now these box office numbers are abysmal. Your classic directors and pulling back on 20-year-old films like Gladiator with Gladiator 2. And throwing out the trailer, the first teaser with rap music in it.
I know.
Not boding well. We'll see. We'll have our review. We got Red 1 coming out this week, but still, it's interesting.
One of the highest grossing, it may have been the highest grossing film this year with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
That was, and to think that your highest grossing film of the year is not only rated R, it's a movie that has 200 and something F words in it, and it's about two guys wearing tights.
Yeah. I say, it's funny, but it's the two guys that are in those tights.
Yeah.
That drew in the people.
True. Yeah. And you get the movie that fans wanted.
Right.
You didn't get a bunch of woke nonsense. You got the comic book characters you went to see, not mixed in with all these different agendas.
Yes.
So I think that was the perfect combination, but Hollywood looks at that and says, oh, we can, every film's going to be like that now. It's all picking back up, and it's like, no, you made one good movie.
Right.
Like that's, you got to keep
not
doing that.
And not every movie can be that.
Yeah, right.
Again, I go back to that secret sauce argument. Like, to me, that has to do with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool and that character and what they were able to create, and still having it buttressed with 2 other films that came before it.
Yeah, true.
And again, like you said, appealing to the fan base of knowing who you're trying to,
Well, they didn't call their fans stupid
No.
and incels. They
didn't talk down
They
to
loved
them.
their fans, is what they did.
And their fans loved them
paid off.
to $1 billion+
That's
movie.
right. That's
exactly. So, okay, with that being said, I think we're ready to move into our final segment, our relationships.
Ooh.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Aww. That's right, our relationships topic. Getting a little personal
I heard
tonight.
Keith in there awing.
Oh,
It's almost like he was here.
I know. You know what? He'd be. Well, I'm disappointed.
He might have a story to tell on this one. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll have to. Keith, are you there? Are you there in your shirt? No, he's not.
What if his shirt just started going doom 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 like
man.
his heartbeat?
That'd be creepy.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Or like even a brush of air just went, and it just rippled.
Smelled like Keith.
It's like ooh. Beef and cheese. I always say that because it's an elf line. That's funny. Okay. But I'm disappointed because he would have been the first person to try this, and it would have worked tonight. Did you see something working over there?
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah.
He never lets you. He never lets you do it.
No.
So he always turned it away from you.
He does. He cocks it that way. Like he doesn't even.
He's like, that's mine.
I know.
It's my soundboard.
I know. And see, I'm not quick enough to really get it.
I wanted to prove that I did not do any. It has been working from the top of the show.
That even our show hasn't been working from the top of the show. But this thing has been. I just haven't touched it.
100%.
I'm gonna touch it in a minute.
I say you got to do his classic one.
I'm gonna touch it in a minute.
All right. Well,
so you go ahead and tell us what we're talking about.
I'll
tonight.
introduce our segment. So it is a little personal, talking about in relationships.
Yeah.
When you got rejected by a girl. That was for you, Keith.
There it is.
There it is. That's probably how you would have been feeling. You looking for the other one?
There it is.
Yeah. Could have been feeling that way too.
Yeah.
Like, well, all right. Just moving on.
See, Keith always gets it. He gets it when he's not talking. That's
True.
when he can focus on the one that he wants to push at the right moment.
But then
it's hard to do when you're talking, and then it's like, that's why I respect the director. I understand. You got to talk and push the button.
It's crazy.
And do it. Yeah, I get it.
And sometimes he'll push it too, and then, like, he's been thinking of where to hit it.
Oh, yeah.
And he also knows too that he just pushes the ones just to be annoying.
Yeah.
It's like
sometimes
we love you, Keith.
Yeah,
we know that's what you do.
So rejected by a girl.
Yeah,
I do. I have a story.
You do?
Only if you do.
I've got one.
Okay.
Y'all know mine, but
oh yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you go first.
I'll go first then. So in was it 7th or 8th grade? In the eighth grade year at Stewart Middle School.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I
know we all went to Stewart.
You went to Stewart?
No, I went to Stewart. Keith didn't. He went to Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, at Stewart in the 8th grade, we had 8th grade dance, and there was a girl that I liked, and I thought, I'll ask her to the 8th grade dance. And so I did, and I guess she didn't have anybody to go with. She said yes. So we went to the 8th grade dance together, and that turned into a relationship because after the 8th grade dance, we were going out.
Yes.
That's what we called it back then. We were going out.
Yep.
And we didn't go anywhere. We just went out over the phone pretty much.
Because
we weren't driving it. So we were going out for probably a good year.
That's a long time back then.
Yeah, it was. No, okay. I will say it wasn't quite into my. Yes, it was.
Ooh, you took it all the way to high school?
It was into high school because she went to Doss and I went to PRP, and we were still going out at that time.
That's serious.
So, but we used to get together, like I'd go to her house. My parents would drop me off over at her house, and we would hang out there with her parents, of course. And then sometimes we would go to Dixie Manor, and we would see a movie at the Dirty Dozens.
That's it.
And we would go look around at some of the stores and stuff over there.
That's hanging out.
And there was this weird thing, like even after going out as long as we did, I can honestly say that we never really like kissed. like really kissed.
Yeah.
And the one time that I tried, it was total and utter rejection.
Oh.
Like turned her face away and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so
no. How long? So is this a year in?
This was probably 6 months to a year in. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was a while, but it was the weirdest thing because that happened, and then I finally it happened a couple of times, and so I just finally asked about it. I was like, what's
going on?
What's going on? Like, and because it was my first girlfriend, so I wasn't trying to push things. I had never kissed anybody either, so I was
just trying to get a little practice.
I was just trying to get some, and something. And no, she literally said, she was just like, and she had weird quirks. Like there was weird things.
I mean,
but this one, she was just
as any eighth grader.
Yeah, she was just it was weird. Like she wouldn't show her feet. Like you never saw her barefoot. She would always have socks and shoes on. Like she if she took her shoes off and her socks were on, she would go to the pool and get in the pool with socks on. She did not want to show her feet, which means she had fugly feet. I would assume.
Even still,
but it was just weird. But anyway, she went into this whole thing about the kissing thing, and it was just like I literally. The idea of your mouth spit and mine being in mine it's like makes me nauseous. Like I want to puke. And it wasn't just mine. She was just like in
general.
In general. Like it's just I think kissing is gross. That was the excuse she gave me. I didn't have bad breath or anything. That was back when it was like all Axe body spray and you did like, a whole bottle of mouthwash before you went somewhere. Yeah. Like I was trying to make it. I was trying to make it appealing, and yeah, it was just total rejection of the whole kissing thing. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I don't know. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking this is like, I kind of love this girl. So where are we go? Yeah, it was like the first one is always the one you think you're gonna marry.
Yep.
And I'm just like, if we get to the honeymoon, is she gonna want to do that, or is that gonna be too gross for her too? And if that's the case, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with that.
But of course, anything at that time, it's set in stone. Like if she don't want to kiss,
that was it. Yeah,
she don't want. Okay, she don't want to kiss.
Yeah, we're just not going to do that. Right. So it was weird, man. But it was like total. It didn't last a whole lot longer after that.
So you still kept going with it?
Yeah,
that wasn't the end of it.
No, it didn't turn me off. I liked her that much.
Did she like to hold hands?
Oh yeah.
Everything
hold
but
hands,
kiss.
lay on you, like she wanted to be close.
Oh man,
and I didn't even like that.
Could you kiss her on the cheek?
Yes.
She did not like kissing on the mouth.
It was you could do that.
Okay, but nothing.
Not the open mouth.
Not making out.
Not making out. No.
She did not want to make out.
No.
Ooh, that's not.
It was so freaking weird, and so that it finally she went to DOS. I went to PRP. It got to be.
She got to DOS. She learned how to make out quick.
She probably learned how to make out with somebody. Yeah, that's right.
I knew some DOS people.
But yeah, it was the weirdest thing ever, and I chalk it up to she just didn't want to kiss me because eventually she kissed somebody.
Honestly, it probably was just an age thing because I remember thinking, I never had a phase where I didn't want to kiss a girl.
Right, right. You're a guy.
I definitely had now, and this is going back to a story I know we've told like way back on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is my first kiss. One was just like, a little peck, but it was actually 2 kisses. I had 2 kisses as my first kiss, but it was on a field trip, and one was like a little peck. The other one was a little wet, but it was not the good kind of wet. It was just like I was in like 5th grade.
Wow!
I was young.
Yeah, hitting it early.
But the thing is like, and I don't blame. Nobody knows how to kiss at that age.
Sure.
So it is. It's kind of one of those things where you look back, and of course you're just like. In your mind, mentally, you're not prepared for what it is, and you're just thinking it's something that, I see people, adults do this, and it's romantic, and I want to do it, and it's just like you have no idea how to. Which hey, you got to have some bad kissing to get some good kissing.
Yeah,
but it is interesting because I think maybe she was just afraid, and she wasn't ready to cross that line yet, and then she just got to DOS, and probably maybe junior senior year, she just decided. Who knows?
Yeah,
you never followed up with her.
On the kiss?
No, just in general. Did y'all ever stay in touch?
No, not really. Not after that.
Yeah, just over.
No, I mean I've hit her up a couple of times on Facebook. Not since I've been married, but before. Well, no, yeah, it would have been because I didn't have Facebook until I was married. But it was like I saw her on Facebook on something and was just like, oh my God, it's been forever. Can't believe you're on here. That was back when it first went to where you didn't have to be in college to be on Facebook, where you didn't have to have an education email address.
Yep.
And I bounced up on Facebook and was just like, oh my God, everybody I know is on here.
Yes.
Like I was talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And so like an old person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
just
what
like
it's
catching
become.
up with old friends.
That's what it's become.
Yeah.
now.
So I did that years ago, probably like 15 years ago.
I mean, clearly she's, I don't know if she married or have kids now. Who knows?
I think she had a kid when I talked to her 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
Wouldn't that be interesting if she still hated kissing, but she was like, I don't mind that. We could do the deed and I'll have children, but I guess don't kiss me.
Just don't kiss me. That's like prostitution.
That's just weird.
Yeah.
At that point, there's
I don't want to kiss.
no intimacy.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It was a weird thing. I chalk it up to just rejection. She just didn't want to kiss me.
I don't know.
I don't know what's not to like about this, especially when I was thinner. Like when I was 128 pounds
had it going on.
Had muscles because I was working out in high school.
I'll tell you what it was. You didn't have that salt and pepper going on at that time.
That's true.
It was all just
mostly
pepper.
Salt now.
Yeah. I think if you had a little bit of salt and pepper, she would dove right in.
Yeah.
She got a little taste of that.
Yeah.
A little Clooney. You know?
I spent a lot of money on her too. That was another thing that really ticked me off.
You tend to.
I spent a lot of my money on her.
I mean, y'all dated a while.
Well, I take that back. I spent a lot of my parents' money on her.
Yeah,
I didn't have a
allowance.
job, but it's like I got paid for doing odd and end jobs, and then I got birthday money and that kind of stuff, and it literally went to buying her Christmas gifts and
that's
buying
what
her
you
birthday
earned
gifts.
at the time. I mean, and you spent it on her.
I think I spent like $80 on an Elvis book because she was a huge Elvis fan.
Oh,
and
man.
I bought her like this big, thick Elvis book. I don't even remember where I got it, but
I'm telling you,
it took all my money. $80 was a lot.
Oh, heck yeah.
Back in
that was a
1998.
fortune.
Yeah.
A fortune. I remember selling my Sega Genesis at a yard sale for $20, and I thought I was rich. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got $20.
Still worth $20.
This is crazy."
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, $40 at that age, $80 let alone. I'm like,
yeah,
whoa,
it was a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, oh man, no, but so my rejection. I don't know if I've told it on the show before.
Tell the whole story. I want to hear it. The whole thing.
Well, it's a little long-winded. I'll tell the abridged version.
All right.
I'll name drop. I don't mind, because it's been long enough now, and this girl's definitely married, probably has kids. I would not be surprised if she's got kids. So Abby was her name.
Well, yeah, I know.
Oh, you know. See, I've told you.
Yeah.
I've told this story either personally to you all.
You were in my living room telling this story one time.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
I think I have it on video, actually.
That was in the thick of it. That's what it was. It was going on.
Yeah.
Because that was when, at the time, the details were unknown of how it was going to all work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
There was still a chance. There was a hope. Because when that happened, I was very much I'm not going to say in love, with this girl.
Mm-hmm.
Very cordial, good friends, and really one of those genuine friendships that just came out of I mean, again, similar interests, but also being involved at the BCM, which is the Baptist Campus Ministries at U of L. That was kind of where I was plugged in during my college life, and met a lot of my college friends through that organization, and still I was there pretty much all 4 years, hung out there, was deeply involved, and she through her odds and ends would come in there from time to time, and also was involved, and we just struck it up and just cordially and congenially just got along really well, just gravitated towards each other. And really I chalked it up to what I think worked out in my favor was she had a boyfriend when I met her. And again, I can't remember, I think it was sophomore year was when I first met her, and of course I thought she was cute, but I didn't know her real well. And the more run-ins we had, it was just like I said, a genuine friendship connection. And then of course getting to know her more, and then realizing she had a boyfriend, it was like, oh, okay, then hey, she's taken, and it was really I was just kind of on the perusing, looking around in general at anyone in college. I mean, you're in college. If you're not already settled in, I mean, the old adage when I was in college was like ring by spring. There were people that would just like partner off and like fall, and then it was like boom, they're already engaged by springtime. At least in the BCM world. Now there were some devastating breakups too, and that was always drama. But no, I mean it was crazy because we grew closer the longer college went on through my junior and senior year, but at the same time, like as I was getting to know her and we were just becoming real good friends, she was still with the same guy. So in my mind, I'm just like, it allowed me to naturally be myself without thinking like, oh, I got to be somebody that I'm not.
Try to impress
or
somebody.
Try to impress her. It allowed me to just open up more and be genuinely me without trying to put on a show, which actually it's the better way that I interact with women. I'm always awkward if I think there's even a chance, or I'm terrible in terms of like first approach or appearance. And then it's like, as time goes on and I warm up to you or you get to know me, it's like, then it's easy. Then it becomes smooth. So with her, I was just like, oh, she's with this guy. They've been at this point dating 2.5 years. Like she's talked to me about, some of their personal conflicts. I've helped her out platonically with certain things in the relationship, but it was very much like, they're headed to marriage. Like this is the path that they're on. He's going to eventually propose. Like they're going to end up together and get married. And of course, a little bit in between that is when the thing happened at your place where I'm just like, I'm feeling a little good. I'll just put it that way. And I'm just pouring out my heart and soul to you all. And of course, really Keith's being the good friend of just listening to every bit of this. And you and Neil, rightfully so, are in the background just like, what is this? Like, we're supposed to be a guys' weekend. Like, come on.
It was funny.
You can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
But like, so that was kind of in the middle of all this. Well, fast forward to like senior or right before senior year. This is the end of junior year, about to go on summer break, into the spring semester. And I get word that she is broken up with her boyfriend.
Meat's back on the menu.
So I honestly, first thought in my mind was not like, oh, gotta make my kill shot. Like I'm moving in. It was genuinely like, I'm hurting for my friend. Like I know this was a big deal. This was not something to take lightly. And so first thought in my head was not, I'm moving in.
Yeah.
It was really like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? Like, I know this is a big breakup. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I carefully like treated it that way. And of course, kind of as a friend would, just, cared for her through that time. And really, honestly, it was only about maybe the last few days of that semester. And truthfully, at that point, I gave her space. Didn't reach out to her, didn't talk to her. And then looking back, like, that was the right move. It was like, hey, just give her time and, like, not try to... Well, then as the summer went on, and it was like, I still just kind of was doing my own thing. This was actually, like, the first time I really, like, honed in on my fitness journey. And this was before, again, knowing that she was, like, broken up. And I was like, I want to get thin for my senior year. Me and my brother... I was living with my brother at the time. We did P90X. And I was like, man, I'm going to do 3 months in the summer. I'm going to come back and I'm going to look ripped and jacked for the fall semester. Senior year is going to start off great. Yeah, she wasn't even in my mind. It was literally like, hey, I'm so sorry, but obviously, like, hey, if you need a shoulder, I'm here. Went on with my summer. About halfway through the summer, randomly she reaches out to me about, like, helping her put in some, like, car stereo. I was like, oh, yeah, I could absolutely, I could help you out with that, Didn't work out to where, like, I honestly think that was when we went down to your place. But it was like a weekend that I wasn't available or free, and she ended up getting it taken care of or whatever. And I was like, oh, no worries. Like, we can catch up, sometime before school starts. And she was going on this trip, going out of town for, like, or going out of the country on, like, a mission trip for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. It was going to be, like, right up to the start of the semester. Mm-hmm. So there was, like, 1 week between, like, that we could see each other before she went on this trip. And so I was like, she was kind of, we were chit-chatting, like, texting back and forth, like, again, normal, platonic, just friendship things. But we were still trying to nail down, like, a time we could hang out before she went on this trip, before school started. And And I just she kept telling me about how, like, of course, ever since the breakup, like, her mom and her sister were, like, devastated, and they were, like, trying to hook her up, with different guys. So I'm sitting here, like, reading the tea leaves in my mind, and I'm like, oh, crap. Like, am I about to lose out? I'm about to lose my chance of, like, if I don't say something now, she's going to quickly move on. Because here I am thinking, like, oh, there's a timer. Like, I'm thinking, oh, she just broke up with this really serious boyfriend, but she was ready to settle down, and the next person she moves on to, that's it. Like,
that's the one.
That's the one. So I was like, and if I don't say something, if I don't throw my hat in the ring, like, I could regret this. Like, I could really, like, this could be an opportunity to pass me up. So we find a time to meet up. She's like, oh, well, I've got to actually go shopping for some stuff I got to get for the trip. She was like, do you want to come hang out and just spend some time together? So yeah, sure, absolutely. So I meet up with her. I actually had written a letter that I kind of just spilled the beans, but I was like, I put a lot of thought into it in terms of, like, how I'd been there for her through all these different things, but how I'd never tried to, take advantage of our friendship. It was never from that perspective, but it just naturally, like, I just gravitated towards having feelings for her. I was just spilling my guts. Yeah. And, like, so I wrote it up, put it in my pocket, like, had it with me when I was going to meet her. Met up with her. Everything's going good. We're just having a good time. And then, like, we headed out to this one store, and, like, I was like, oh, I could drive us. I was like, you just leave your car here, because we met up at the mall together. And I was like, I'll just drive us over here. I was like, I can bring you back to your car. No worries. So we're driving to this other place, and we're having a conversation in the car, and she just casually does bring up, like, here I am talking about all of my stuff, what's going on. She's like, what about you? Is there anybody you're interested in? Ooh. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, is this the opportunity? Is this, like, the doorway? Like, is she intentionally doing this? Or is
poking around?
Yeah. Right. Like, I'm kind of looking back on it now, I misread the tea leaves. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, maybe she's kind of poking and prodding, like, hey, like, I'm interested if you are. So I kind of just gave up a little hint of, like, no, I've got somebody on my mind, and, like, it's been going well a little bit, but I kind of beat around the bush a little bit, and we finally get to where we're going, and there was, like, a Starbucks nearby, and I was like, well, let's get a coffee. We just get coffee and walk around, because we were doing a bunch of different shopping in another strip mall. So we go to Starbucks, and I basically finally just caved, and I told her and how I felt, and the mood completely changed. Completely changed. So awkward. Freaking, it was one of I rolled with it at the time, but it was, and I tried to play it cool, but I knew it was like completely wrong. Ooh. Total mood change of, like, her just being not giving me the cold shoulder. She was really good about just, like, still being happy and happy-go-lucky. Yeah. But very much I shouldn't have said a word. I shouldn't have said anything. Should have just let you in your feels and just still been the friend and the shoulder to cry on. So sure enough, I never gave her the letter. It stayed in my pocket the whole time. I was obviously getting the vibes and the signals clear as day. And, like, we're in the middle of this store, like, shopping around. I was like, oh, I need to get some sunglasses. And, like, I'm trying on these different pairs. And I kind of see her off in the distance. Well, she gets a phone call. And she just comes back over and she's like, hey, I got to head home. I've got, like, my sister just called me and has to have me do something, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Yeah. And immediately I'm like, you just texted her and was like, I need to get out of here. Yeah. Like, this is not good. And granted, I understand. I get it, because I'm like, she's sitting here, like, she's confided in me. She's trusted in me. Yeah. I've been there as a friend to her. I don't think, like, even if there were feelings that could have developed, like, that was not the right time. Like I said, all this is hindsight's 2020. But take her back to her car. So me feeling like I'm just, I'm hot stuff now. I've been working out for 2 months, and we're about to go back, and I'm thinking, no, I got to press hard. I got to let her know. Oh. So it was too ballsy. Way too ballsy. I text her. Like, I get home, and I go ahead and text her, and I'm just like, by the way, I just want to let you know, like, what I said was true, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I kind of just reiterate what I said, and I was like, and I just want you to know, like, if you're interested, I'd like to take you out sometime. And sure enough, like, she just texted me back, and again, cordial, very pleasant, nice, but she was just, like, in a joking manner. She was like, I don't remember the whole text. I just remember one of it. She's like, hold on, Speedy Gonzalez. And immediately as soon as I read that, I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Pretty much rejected me. Was not in a like, oh, I never want to talk to you.
Not a mean way, yeah.
No. But very much was like, okay, no. There's no misreading this at all. Like, shot my shot, totally missed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm not gonna lie, it hurt, and I was definitely like bitter about it because I thought there was something.
Yeah.
And pretty much, she did not contact me from that point on till the start of the school year. And I remember it was like 3 weeks later, first day of class, and I'm like on campus. And we happened to run into each other. Awkward as hell. It was very short, like, snippet of just like, oh, how was the trip? Oh, it was great. Oh, well, I'll catch up with you later. Very short, to the point. So finally, I'm just like, at this point, I just don't even make any overtures. Don't reach out to her. I'm just like, all right, look, I get it. Okay, came on too strong. You don't have the same feelings for me. I'll leave you be. Long story short, into that semester, that winter or fall semester comes, she needed help with like a little project, reached out to me. It was kind of an olive branch. I helped her, but I was still a little bit bitter about what was going on. Felt like I had reciprocated feelings that she obviously didn't, back. Or I had given her feelings that she didn't reciprocate. And so I'm sitting here and I think, starting to be a little bit harsh, a little bit more standoffish and cold-shouldered in a wrong way, because I think she was genuinely just trying to strike up the friendship again, and I just didn't have any business in that, and I was kind of pissed at that point. And I had no reason to be, because look, at the end of the day, like, she didn't owe me nothing. She just didn't have the same feelings. So be it. I can look back on that now and have that realization, especially because the guy that I know she was hanging around at that time ended up being her husband. And they did get married. And it was like literally a month after this whole thing happened and I honestly think what it was is the most that stood out to me from that guy, just having barely knew him. He was just there for her. Didn't try to pursue her. It was just like he was there for her and let her come around to him in her own time. And I think him just being there for her and not trying to, again, be this guy that just swooned after. She was a very pretty girl, and she, again, had a great personality and was very likable, easy to get along with, got along with everybody. She was one of those girls that stood out in a crowd, and I think she was just tired of having that kind of, attractive, being attractive by every single guy that she ran into, and she just wanted somebody.
She just wanted a friend and not somebody that was
just trying to get in her pants.
Yeah.
And I don't think she ever saw me as that kind of guy, but I just don't think she had those same feelings for me. And I think that ultimately it was just kind of like it was more of a, oh, you too?
Yeah.
And she lumped me in with that category, even though that wasn't the case. And I think her extending that olive branch was her coming back around to be like, oh, I don't see you as that, but can we still be friends? And of course, at that time, I was just so bitter. I rejected it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But no, it was definitely, it was a tough one to swallow. It was a tough pill to swallow. And it took me like a couple years. I'd say like almost 3 years to get over it. And in fact, it was like almost a year later, I knew from Facebook that she was engaged and to this guy. And by happenstance, I was going into a Kroger. It was on Super Bowl Sunday, and I was going with a friend. We were going in there to get something for Super Bowl Sunday, and literally just ahead of us were them walking in together, and like hand in hand, her head was like on his shoulder as they were walking in, and it was so freaking painful.
You're like, it was
so painful because it was just like, I don't need this right now. And I mean, it just freaking killed the mood. I did not want to freaking do any Super Bowl party, nothing. It was awful. But you know what? Time heals all wounds, and you move on. I'm sorry, that was really freaking long-winded. But hey, we made up. We made up for the lack of the show at the beginning.
Just thinking Keith was here to tell his story too.
I know.
It'd
I'm
be
sorry.
Like 11 o'clock.
That
was good though.
All right.
I hadn't heard the whole story apparently.
There you go.
I thought I did. Now, who was the one that you said something and she just said no?
It was her.
No, that was it. Okay.
That was
you paraphrased it.
I paraphrased it.
Okay, you shortened it down.
I was joking.
That's the condensed.
when I made it that way.
Okay.
And it was the way I said it that both Keith and Nathan heard that, and they just laughed.
They rolled with that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I know it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It was definitely much more
than that.
But yeah,
Okay.
she's the one that just said no.
Just said no.
And I just had to take it.
Yep.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for this episode. We mentioned it at the beginning, but we weren't on air. So, hey, I'm going to try to imitate Keith here. I'm going to try to do it.
All right.
Here we go. RMPodcast at Red Moon Productions. That was terrible. I can't do it.
Wow.
I can't do it. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
There's nothing wrong with that one. That was just fine.
Yeah. What about you? You say it.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
There we go. We don't need Keith. Screw him. He's done.
No, his is definitely deeper.
It's better.
It resonates.
It does.
Yeah.
It just sounds so much more
Yeah.
guttural.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. No, as always, like, share, subscribe, and follow us on all of our social media pages. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble. Thank you all so much again. The full episode will be posted on our YouTube and Facebook page. Sorry for the technical difficulties for the top of the show, but we'll put the full episode on there. And of course, Red 1. That's the movie we're doing next week. So
I'm looking so forward to it.
I can just hear it in your voice. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Keith will be back next week. Until then, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
Until next time. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.